Hello, everyone. My name is Alexander Lloyd Blake. This Might Get Personal. We're here with another amazing artist, an artist and composer, Grammy-winning for her project So She Howls, and now Grammy-nominated for her second project, Nomadica. Welcome to the podcast, Carla Patullo.
Hey there. Thank you so much for having me. Friend,
Yes,
collaborator. It's so awesome to be here.
thank you for being here. I'm so excited. This podcast is coming out uniquely timed as we start the process for the Grammys for this year, or at least the second round. Again, congrats on the nomination.
Thank you.
And we'll talk about that soon. But wanted to just, talk about you first. And what were some of your first inspirations to become a composer?
When I was, a little kid, like 5, 6, running around, MTV was really popular at the time and they played a lot of music videos. And I remember just sitting there and being so like moved and it just caught my attention. Like, singers like Tina Turner and just
Mm,
seeing their videos and their story behind the songs. Um, and so, but my parents like got me this small little toy piano. And I just remember being so attracted to it. And I would go and sit there and I would play like, Jingle Bells or whatever, but I had this urge to want to create and write, but more than wanting to learn other songs.
right.
So I would just, sing little melodies and that eventually it just became like this thing that I just wanted to write these songs. So I would like pretend I was like releasing tapes uh and do stuff like that where it was just like, the idea of making an album was like the ultimate like goal. So I had that dream like really young.
Wow. Okay. So you've been a recording artist for decades.
Oh, I've been well, back then it was just a tape recorder, or I remember I had at one point this like karaoke machine with two tapes, and I would just use that to like record demos, like, just me with
I
a little
remember,
keyboard.
yes, I remember the karaoke machines. Yes, we were all stars back then.
Yeah, I just used whatever I could. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was learning as I went. And but yeah, like, I think what was cool about that, and obviously today everybody can have like a studio, right, at their fingertips on their laptop. But back then you had to be really creative, like, or work up to getting a 4 track.
Right.
Yeah.
I would love to know how you decided that you wanted to speak about personal experiences in music.
Yeah. I think music is something that I need. It's like a therapy for me. It's this like um place that I go to, and it's funny because for the last like before So She Howls came out, I had been really just working on film scores. And so I didn't really release any albums for a while. And it wasn't until, I got sick and I had breast cancer that I shifted. And that's the first place I went, was like, oh, I need to just like sing about this. I need to,
Wow.
just for myself, I just need to I just gravitate there, and um so it starts off as this like this self need of just of needing to do that and get it out. And um I feel like a lot when I'm going through something traumatic, something that helps me is when I have community and when I have people there that can relate, or I can relate with people's story. So I think there's something really powerful in that connection. And I think that's one of the things I really love about music is the connection and the, um, not being alone going through something.
Right. Well, and you're You do this so beautifully, both expressing your own music but also bringing in collaborations. Um, I would like to stay kind of with your experience, if we can, for a second. I mean, where were you when you first learned about, your diagnosis? Is this something that ran in the family?
Yeah, I no, it wasn't something in my family. It was a complete shock. I, had not been feeling, I feel a little off. I thought I felt a lump, but I wasn't sure. And I hadn't had a mammogram yet. And because I think the age is 40 for having your first mammogram. And so I was like, okay, well, let me go to the doctor and see it. And it was oddly enough because I was just realizing again today that I ended up going to the doctor on December 4th today,
Wow.
um, to get, kind of my testing done, to get my mammogram done. And I just had this feeling going in. And of course, I was nervous because it's also the anniversary of my mom's passing. So, yeah, December 4th is this weird
Ooh.
day. And, and so I was just really nervous. But I had that feeling. It's like my body was telling me something's going on here. And, and it was, your world kind of shuts down, when you receive a diagnosis like that, especially in the beginning phase when you don't know the full extent and there's tests to be run and you're living on code red and an anxiety and you
Mhm.
just don't know. There's so many unknowns.
Yeah.
So,
And, luckily, as you mentioned, you had some experimental treatment and were able to be fully healed.
yeah, there was, I was very lucky that there was this experimental, actually, it was in the 90s is when this drug called Herceptin came out, and it's been a game changer for HER2 positive breast cancer. And yeah, I mean, just so like lucky, I'm very lucky, and I don't I remind myself that every day, like um you know
Yeah.
things that you kind of, when you go through this thing, you kind of like realize the things you take for granted. And then also you tend to put your focus and your energy, I think, on like, so much work and so much this and that. And it's like, and I catch myself again today and I'm like, oh, pull it back, girl. Don't forget. Like, like this is real. This is life, like, don't forget the things that matter the most, and the bigger picture is something, it's easy
No,
to get
it's
on that train.
such a good reminder. Yeah, I think this is go, go, go time for
Yeah.
so many of us. And it's, to what point? Of course, you have goals and dreams. But yeah,
Yeah.
how do we balance so that we actually live
Yeah.
and live well? I mean, we talk about, well, you've talked about kind of using music and kind of finding a healing place and trying to find some positivity out of this experience. And clearly, some positivity was found after So She Howls came out with your Grammy win. So I would love to hear kind of, what did you imagine? What did you envision? And kind of how did that meet your reality?
I mean, the project really just, I mean, it's just wild because
Yeah.
this album just started off as this self-need thing, didn't even think it was going to be an album, and it just kept growing and growing. And I was, just like very much it kind of, it just chronicled my health, like followed my health there, like, you know going through the tough parts of cancer, coming out, being on, doing all the medicine, coming out, doing all the healing, the therapy, and it's all there in that album. And simultaneously, like, then the Grammys started happening, and to me it was just, oh, I've got to like share this story with people going through anything really. But especially like the people going through cancer or an illness, it's like, you know it was a real rock bottom place in my life, but it's also looking back, it's also like just such an amazing part too, because of all the connection that happened. And the Grammys was just this, it was this place where I could now like share it. And that's what
Hmm.
was so amazing about it. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, when you won, like that moment, can you remember kind of what you're thinking? Where you like,
I it was so weird because one thing that happened along going through cancer was that I felt my mom's presence more. And I remember just closing my eyes right before they announced the award, and I was just, and I saw my mom like so like vividly, and she was just
wow.
smiling. And I was just like, we're gonna win. And then they called her name and I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
And the Grammy goes to So She Howls. Carla Patullo, featuring Tonality and the Social Quartet. Oh my God. I can't thank you guys enough. My beautiful wife, my family, our family's here, these beautiful musicians behind me, my publicist, Katie, and my whole team. Guys, I began writing this album when I was going through breast cancer. And I made it to the other side because of these, yeah, because of these courageous women who did this experimental trial 30 years ago saved my life. And this is for them. So thank you. Thank you.
I just felt like the energy, the collaborators, all of us, we were just, I don't know, we were just a part of something that was like, I think bigger. It was like this bigger message, I feel, and I think it found its way.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Um, I would love to hear how you chose the groups that you chose to collaborate with.
Yeah, well, first of all, tonality. I mean, I've been such a fan of, following your work and, and your message and it's just beautiful to have to collaborate with a group that has a story that is, putting themselves out there, being vulnerable and bringing people together. And I felt that vibe from Tonality and from you, Alex, and I thought this would be special. I I knew that I had this project, but I'm like, but I need the musicians and the artists to help me and to help this story grow and to blossom. And so I thought, oh, tonality would be amazing. And so I begged you.
Oh, not bad. It was just so funny because at the time I had heard your name, but I didn't really know much about your music. And when you sent me the music, I was like, it's so funny how the universe works because I was also in a place at that time, and so the fact that the music had no words, I was like,
Yeah.
great, let's just come in, sing this thing, and not even knowing the story behind the album. I
Yeah.
just knew, it was beautiful music. I was like, oh, we can do this well. And then I didn't actually, because I live under a rock most of my life, I didn't actually know the story behind the album until it got nominated, the day it got nominated.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if I ever said it to you. I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is big and it's important. And I that's why I think it's so special that you have graced all of us with the impact of your vulnerability.
It was just, I feel like there's this connection because I remember too, like one of your singers told me that they had experienced something similar.
Hmm.
That connection, it's just like you feel it, you hear it, and the Scorchio Quartet in New York,
Yes.
like those guys too, like everybody's had someone affected by cancer. Like, I mean, it's everywhere, unfortunately, and we all have experienced some level of it. And I think, with the Scorchio, I knew Martha very well. We've known each other for a good 15 years. And so she knew about the experience, what was going through. And I think it was a very special time to be working with everybody because yeah, we all can connect on this level, and I think that connection in the studio and performing together, I think that just brings it home more to people listening, and I think and then and hopefully it just keeps spreading, that the connection keeps spreading, and we all keep growing, and it gets bigger, and that's what I really felt with So She Howls. I felt like it just kept getting um bigger and more people, and we were just all like you know in this like living it together.
Absolutely. And in terms of keep growing, I mean, you have certainly continued on your quest of sharing experiences through music. And so I would love to talk about this second project that is out now.
Yeah.
Hopefully, most of you have heard it. You'll hear part of it on the podcast, certainly. Nomadica. And if you can talk to us about the experience behind that.
Yeah, Nomadica in a way is an album I was trying to write before So She Howls. I had experienced, my mother about 20 years ago had passed away suddenly in a car accident. And she had just left my house. And she only lived like 15 minutes away, and it was just tragic. It was so hard, and for so many years it was hard to navigate that grief. I long for peace, I look to it was a hard album for me to write. And the material I have now is all new material because I just couldn't get there. I just couldn't like process it. A lot of anger, a lot of denial, a lot of blame, and it wasn't until I went through breast cancer, to be honest, that I could have the gratitude of having my mom for as long
Mm-hmm.
as I had her in my life. And it just like opened, I think cancer opened this door to be able to tackle that, to
Right.
to confront the grief. And so that's what just that happened. I began just like having these like, what if my mom was here, what conversations would I have with her, you know what would it be like? And but yeah, that all had to, I think, for me, happen with having the gratitude of the little time I did have with her.
Well, you mentioned
Yeah.
grief, which we certainly can understand. Anyone who's lost a parent or lost a loved one, blame is a
Yeah.
lot heavier.
Yeah.
How
It's
did
yeah.
you manage to get through that?
Um I think I look back and I feel like it's, you know, I was willing to take the blame for everything when it happened, because someone needed to be blamed for it. And so I think I just gravitated towards it was my fault. I shouldn't have invited her over for dinner. I shouldn't have like I should have kept her around,
How
or
old are
like not.
you in this time?
I was in my early 20s.
Wow, that's so much
So,
to carry.
uh, yeah. And I think there was no the way that she passed, like, it was believed that a police officer accidentally ran her off the road. It
Oh,
was just very like wrong, being at the wrong place at the wrong time. So it was like every second mattered. So in my mind, I was just like, I wish I kept her around longer. If we had that second cup of like, coffee or whatever. Um, and also, I remember I had gone through a bad breakup, and part of her reason for visiting me that night was just to kind of be with me. So I felt
mm,
that guilt too. Um, but as I've gone on, it's like I realized how much that wasn't really in my control,
sure.
and that was a hard place to get to because the denial just kept holding me back, um, and also the anger. It's just this circle, and I just kept going round and round in it for a very long time.
Yeah, I wanted to scream at you like, "Oh, that's not your fault," but I know that like
Ye-
that needs to come from your own process. So I'm
Yeah.
very grateful that you've gotten there and we're able to process through that.
And
Is
it does help when someone says that to you, I think, but you might not react to it right away, but I think you absorb it. I think
That's good to know because I was sitting here honestly. You know what? We're gonna have some real time processing. I was sitting here thinking like, "There's no way you could," but I was like, "Is that helpful to you at that point?" So thank you so much for saying that.
yeah,
Because it's not your fault, and the universe works in its own way, as you know.
yeah, yeah. Well, and it's like I think sometimes going through stuff, at least for me, it's like I might not react, like I might still carry that blame for years, but I think through time, it is something that I absorbed, um, and then also like when you go through your own near death thing, and it's like you're faced with this shocking sudden news and whatever, it just changes your perspective in life, and you know, I had a great mom,
Hmm.
and even though it was a short time, I have so many amazing memories of her. And I feel the gratitude for that, like,
Wow, that's
yeah,
special.
yeah.
And that gratitude, speaking of Nomadica, is there a particular moment in the album that really sticks out to you about any type of experience or feeling that you think about most, maybe in these days?
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, the whole album is kind of like this train ride. And so
Hmm.
we stop and we're kind of like, you know, visiting different parts of Nomadica, this, place where I'm searching for this for her,
Mm.
and I think like when I get to this point of this, there's this track Arrival that was kind of like, this was like this last conversation. It was kind of like a goodbye in a way. Like, it's like one thing I realized I didn't get to do because I was so shocked and had so much anger. Like I really could never go to the cemetery or really celebrate her. And so while this is like a goodbye, it's kind of a bittersweet goodbye of this realization that I do carry these amazing um, memories of her and I feel her presence. And so I think like that moment for me was a very hard song because I knew I was like letting go and saying goodbye too. Um, so it was it's this really bittersweet emotion, but it's something that I'm carrying with me now. And it's like I can celebrate her, I can feel sad, but I can also like um just remember her as the beautiful person she was.
Wow.
Yeah.
and you allow us all to kind of know her in some way.
And we talked about connection. I just want to say Lorenza Ponce plays a
Hmm.
solo on that, um, and she had lost her mom, a few years ago, yeah, right before So She Howls around that time. And so, the emotion that she brought to that track in particular, I mean, we connected on that. That was her. That was her and her mom that she shared. And I think, I feel like people will resonate with that and be able to feel their connection and experience as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, it's funny, beautiful transition into what do you hope people take away from Nomadica when they listen to it?
I hope that they um, realize that, well, first of all, through music and through what they are doing in their life, what they love, that they can find their loved one in that process. And and also that maybe, it's okay that it's a journey getting there, um, that you know, your loved one will be how can I say it? Like I feel my mom as I go on. And I think this album is a reminder of that and that she's with me. Yeah.
Wow. I think we get such a special opportunity as artists to kind of imbue so much humanity, if we choose to. Well, I guess we all do in some way. Doesn't matter kind of how it expresses itself. Imbue humanity in the art,
Yeah.
um, and for that to be then reflected when people get to hear and experience it, and certainly when you tell your story about it, for people to hear the music in a different way. I think it's incredible that you have chosen to speak about such vulnerable topics and to really share so much of yourself for all of us.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. I will say something too that is just it got to a point with this album that I was so in tune with my mom that it felt like I was co-writing with her.
Oh my
It was
goodness!
kind of
Wow.
weird, but anyways, I don't know. There's everybody says goodbye in a different way, I think, and for me, it wasn't necessarily like going to the cemetery or the funeral and, and doing that type of thing, where I connected. But I think that's what's so powerful about music, and yeah, all I can hope is that, someone listening can, uh, feel the same way when they listen to it. Yeah.
Have you had conversations with people who have listened to it, since? And are there any that come to mind of how you've impacted people already?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I've shared this album with a lot of my colleagues and and people who've reached out. They will immediately tell me about their mom
Mm.
and or about their dad or someone they've close to them that they've lost. And it reminds me of like, when I was going through cancer, you meet people in the room with you as well, right? Who are doing chemo or whatever. And you don't know them that well, but you have this very intimate conversation with them about something, just so heavy. And I felt like that's really happened a lot with Nomadica too. I feel like, people instantly like say like, my mom was here, or um she passed away so many years ago and I've been dealing with the same thing. And then we end up just having this conversation about grief. And a lot of times something they say really helps me. And so it's like this real conversation, of helping each other, So I love that part of this.
Yeah, and you just said something that made me think. I think being witness to other people's stories and having a witness to your own story is so important. And if your projects, whether it's the room where everyone is dealing with the same condition or art that initiates a conversation. If there is some type of initiation that allows us to step out of our bubble of protection to let someone else in or to listen to someone else, that is, I think the world needs more of that right now.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think like the connection is so important. I think the isolation and or sometimes, we could, with being with social media and everything, our ways of connecting kind of are isolating in a way. Like, we don't pick up the phone and call people as much
Hmm.
anymore, or like, just go out, leave for coffee or something. We're living in a different world now, um, but I think that the music and, could at least be a conversation starter with
Absolutely.
someone.
It's funny you talk about speaking on the phone. My friends know I like to speak on the phone a lot.
I
But
love that.
yes, um, but no, I think yeah, we need to find more ways to connect, and this is certainly a very beautiful, beautiful way, and clearly impactful as you have been so successful in your recording academy endeavors. Um, so as just a person, this is clearly a busy time. It seems like it's just been a bunch of busy times, which we love as freelance musicians. Um, how do you find rest, relaxation, peace amongst the craziness? Do you find?
That's a funny. Well, I normally, yeah, I love to go out and walk and do some, like, just take that breather. Walking has been such a healing part for me because it's the movement has been really great to take whatever I'm feeling and move with it, walk with it. It's just been so nice for me, like to have that. And boxing is another thing I've been doing lately. I tend to
Okay.
like gravitate towards movement because you know, um, and also recording other projects. Like I just had another collaborator on the album, Martha Wainwright, which
Mm-hmm.
was a big moment for someone to work with there. We connected. She had lost her mom years ago, Kate McGarrigle, to cancer. And anyway, so that's like another beautiful thing, like connecting with musicians and maybe working on something just completely different,
Right.
and vibing out on that. So yeah, it's nature. It's the big
Yes.
one.
Good. Getting outside of the studio. I'm sure, yeah, because you're married to your chair. I would imagine most days. Okay, no, that sounds walking. I did more
Yeah.
walking during the pandemic. I need to get back to that. When you could do nothing else. But it's still
Yeah.
it's still a very free and valuable and healthy option.
Yeah. There's a lot packed in walking. Yeah.
I know. It's like
The
we only have,
mental space.
yes.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I think as someone who loves overthinking, walking and being able to just breathe for a second is a nice way to release. Like I said, I think that was of all the things during the pandemic that were not as positive. I think one of the things was really getting outside and just moving. Um,
Yeah.
it's funny how
I think
I've lost that.
I know. And I think, what's cool too that I found with boxing. I'm not a great boxer or anything, and I don't get in the ring. I'm just hitting a
Not yet.
bag, but
One day.
but there's all the combinations. You have to be focused. And so the movement and the focus and getting your mind off of other things is also really powerful too. So I like the combination of both of those things. And yeah.
I love
And
that.
also feel like I'm.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to make a comment about voting and violence, but I won't. It was going to be a joke, and it was probably going to be a bad one. Don't worry about it, Recording Academy. I was just joking. All right. So, just a couple more questions, just to kind of, as you move through, one is a vulnerable, honest artist. Vulnerable, I'll start that again. Luckily, I can edit.
Yeah.
As you move through, not just as a successful and vulnerable artist, but also as a female and queer composer, Um, have you found that those identities have played any part of your journey as a composer?
I think so. I mean, I think like, first of all, like, being gay has always been this thing where, first I was so like in the closet about it, And so that repression, I think, it's like a balloon about to pop. Like you keep like repressing and then
Hmm.
and I think music really helped me through that. I think, it's one of those things where I think it's in a way made me more vulnerable, and able to share that vulnerability. So I think that's been how, also I think one thing too is like I don't try to like I just do my thing, and I'm like not trying to fit in anymore. I think
Right.
that was like in my younger self, and now I'm just like, well, I'm not gonna fit
You're
in,
like, the box
okay?
didn't fit for me anyway, so might as well do your thing. I love that.
So that's I just carry that. I'm like, nope, like this, I'm gonna be me, and that's it, and that comes out in my music, and if honestly, even if I wanted to sound like this or sound like that, I can't. I'm me, like,
Hmm.
and so and I'm just embracing that. I'm embracing who I am.
Yeah, well, clearly you works. So, um, when I guess at the end of, your very long, healthy life of living and creating music and projects, what would you, what would you tell your earlier self? And what would you hope that people would say about you in your career?
I would say to my younger self that, don't sweat the small stuff. Like all the things that I thought were like the end of the world, like we're not.
Yes.
And to, have a really look at the bigger picture of things and of life. I think that's something, and that's something I still tell myself, like when I'm in that, like in
Hmm.
something, it's like, wait, perspective.
Hmm.
Um, I think, I hope that I'm someone remembered as bringing people together, bringing music, bring it by music, and um, I don't know. I know that's a big aspiration, but I hope that there's connection. I'm remembered for connecting uh, through music, and I would love to. I would say to my wife that I would love to move to a community like in upstate New York or something, and just have like a bunch of musicians, and we're all like collaborating and working together. And I guess that's like my heaven, or like my place that I would like, I don't know, really love to be. And
Wow.
so,
There's,
yeah.
huh? Maybe there's a community here in LA for that.
I know, I know.
Because I was just thinking how beautiful that sounds and probably how much that's needed. And
Yeah.
I can't speak for the future, but you are certainly known by me and by us, as by us as in tonality. For those who are listening and have no idea who I am, as someone who is a connector, and I
Yeah.
think connects us in the most intimate and vulnerable ways. And that's, like you said, I do think that is something that aligns your mission with ours, with
Yeah.
tonalities, and you have done such a beautiful job of doing that, and really so grateful for you bringing us in to experience that with you.
Oh, I mean, I'm honored to have you and Tonality and all the Scorchio, Martha. I mean, it's really, um it wouldn't be what it is without you guys. So, um yeah, you guys made it really special, and for me. So
Yeah,
and
well,
yeah.
all
And
of us for sure.
and and yeah, and I'm just more than ever excited to collaborate again, and to keep to keep this going. It feels like a musical family to me.
Mm,
So yeah.
I'm glad because I don't cook, so we all show up in our own way. Um, what are the next things you're excited about projects wise or
I am, well, first off, I am scoring a film that I'm really loving scoring right now,
amazing?
called Brother Save Us, and it's a sci-fi film, but it's a story about brothers and kind of their brotherhood and also AI and yeah, you know.
Yes, you're right.
So
Where we
so
are.
there's yeah, so that's really great. Well, really, a robot is involved. So I say AI, but a robot, and so there's where we are in life and in the future. But there's some. It's a really beautiful story, and I'm also starting to, you know, work on a new record, really loosely. So just keeping everything
Just
flowing.
keeping it going.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well, can't wait. I love sci-fi, so I will look out for this. You said Brother Save Us. Look for that. Um, if you have not listened to So She Howls or Nomadica, friends, you can do so. Those will be connected on our links as well. Carla, thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank
Again,
you.
the gift that you bring of leading with the heart and bringing other people along in that journey is such a blessing to be a part of and to witness and to
Oh,
be able to participate in. So, thank you.
oh. Thank you so much for having me and for being a part of it.
Of
Really.
course. Well, you all, thank you so much. You can again listen to both of these albums and more. My name again is Alexander Lloyd Blake. We're here with Carla Patullo, and this Might Get Personal. Talk to you all soon.